Welcome, all you wayward souls and lost folk. This is Whispers and Wregate, the bonus feature. Today I am your host, the Mav Hatter, and we're going to find our time breakers taking a little time to themselves.
Time breakers, time breakers.
Perfect. So, the sun is rising on our scene, a morning of the festival. Our three time breakers.
3 of 4.
3 of 4. Our three time breakers, Thaddeus, Shimmer, and Elise, find themselves sitting around a bowl of fruit, waiting for their order, waiting for their waiter, and a couple of drinks in front of them. I know Elise at least has some water.
Shimmer has, water as well as a mimosa.
Thaddeus has ale for reasons that he will not go into because he does not feel like rolling.
I don't think we're going to do any rolls today. So the outside of this wonderful restaurant is full of lively crowds getting ready for the rest of the festivities and enjoying the festival that they know nothing could possibly go wrong during. Inside, likewise, we have a lot of activity, folk in and out, folk getting their meals. Our three main characters, with the absence of Sarah, a notable absence, they find themselves sitting in silence. Now, I think this is uncharacteristic, but I think Elise is going to be the one to break the silence, because a curiosity has piqued her interest. Say, Shimmer, this necklace that you always offer to me, what is this feature?
My necklace. It's part of my pact. She's gonna pull the necklace up, and twist it in her fingers. You see, I don't really know how it came into our family's possession, but it was in the family vault. I was going through it, looking for something. Nothing of really note, just looking, trying to find things of interest within our... And I went into a section that hadn't been touched in quite a while, actually. Probably like a century or something like that, where I found it. It didn't look like anything special compared to the bright jewels of the other items surrounding it, but I decided to pick it up anyway, and decided to polish it up a little bit, see if I could make it shiny, and turns out there was a genie within it. Do you believe that? Genie.
A genie? I can't say I've ever seen one in person.
Yes, she doesn't actually hang around very often, or at least interact with anyone outside the family. She has been in service of my family for centuries. It had apparently been a while since anyone had called upon her, and, well, she offered me power, as she does with anyone would to anyone within the family. Of course I took it. But the necklace itself is quite old, obviously. It's one of our oldest family heirlooms, and for being so old, it is also very strong, being enforced with magic. It's also, the reason I give it to you so often is, lend it to you so often. She kind of makes a pointed look when she says lend. It's because, I could actually go inside it. And so much better than these stuffy rooms or, the ground. It's much more spacious and much more befitting of, one of my blood.
That is incredible. So, you have your own home within a necklace, within a jewel.
Indeed. It is very useful to have, when especially traveling. It's one of the reasons I decided to go traveling in the first place. Well, one of the reasons that convinced me. I wanted to for a while. I always wanted to have some time, go out and adventure a little bit. Stretch my metaphorical wings. She briefly gives herself wings somehow. Can you do that with a changeling? Can changelings give themselves wings? even if they're useless.
I don't see why not.
Yeah, she briefly gives herself like wings as a joke and then makes them go away immediately after snickering to herself. She takes a sip from her drink. I do say that with the NoTa company and finding the NoTa company was a very worthwhile investment, and I'm very glad I was able to find it. Quite the moneymaker that one can be.
Elise will nod, and then she'll ask, "So, how did you end up in Wregate after all that?"
I'm not entirely sure. There was a storm, and so I got off the path, and well, I kept walking. Even once the storm was cleared, I wasn't entirely sure where I was. Eventually, I did find. I kept things sort of changed after a while of walking and moving, and then came across the city gates. It was very strange. Like, at that point, I was nowhere near where I thought I was, and I'd never heard of the city of Wregate by the time and when I got there, well, it wasn't anywhere on any of my maps. It was very strange. Well, and then I decided because of how strange it was, I would, stick around for a little bit. And from the sound of things, I assume both of you were already in the city.
Yes, I was actually born in the city. The lower quarters, nothing nearly as fancy as you were.
Indeed. And you, Thaddeus?
I actually came to Wregate.
Hmm.
I want to say, well, I was going to say around 4 years ago, but it's now like a year ago, given all this time travel that we're going through right now.
That was bad timing, I assume.
I don't think you should say that so loud. There's still people around. We don't know what kind of ripples that will cause.
We don't want anyone else to be ripped in half now, do we?
Oh, Thaddeus
Dun,
will
dun,
say
dun.
that, very quietly. The way I picture this is there's so much commotion going on in the restaurant right now, nobody's going to pay attention to us.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Elise doesn't. Elise can
It
be
would be better.
overly cautious in this instance.
Shimmer is absolutely zero fucks. She is irritated that there are other people around, and she's irritated she isn't immediately being served. But she is kind of just lounging there, twirling her mimosa in her hand this entire time, by the way, taking sips, you know.
Elise is just grabbing a chunk of mango, looking it over before taking a small bite. She's got to have manners to pretend to be, you know, in the company of nobility or worthy of the company of nobility.
Shimmer's gonna take a bite of strawberry as well. She will, of course, be having her manners, but she's not trying too hard.
Yeah, Thaddeus just reaches into the bowl, picks out a piece of fruit, doesn't really matter what it is, because he's got the alcohol and everything like that. He kind of stuffs his face with it, and then he washes it down with the drink in hand.
Shimmer will, in fact, wrinkle her nose at that. Her manners are effortless, given grew up with them. She is very prim and proper and noble. Where were you before, Wregate?
Before Wregate, I was in. It's been so long. Well, I mean, 4 years and everything, but still, it just seems like so long ago. Anyway, I can tell you that I was raised by dwarves. That's why I became an artificer, with inventions and everything. And yeah, I just sort of grew up a, decent childhood. Just yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. No, yeah. Voices, that sort of thing, in my head as a child. So I primarily stuck to my inventions. And yeah, I came to Wregate seeking new opportunities as I heard about a little company starting up, NoTa.
How did you get involved with the NoTa company anyway? And, what is it you do exactly?
Well, primarily what I do is I take whatever plans they draw up and I build the inventions for them. Uh, Typically better than most of my coworkers.
Oh, really?
Well, I'm a bit of a perfectionist. It kind of comes with the territory, and also, fine dwarvish craftsmanship. Although I never really did learn to speak dwarvish, so there's that.
Can you explain
Strange.
to me how you lived without light for so long?
Okay, so where we were, it was dimly lit with the fires of the furnaces. We also had a lot of glowing crystal within the cavern that provided quite a bit of light.
Intriguing.
And it was there, actually, thinking about it, so the firelight from the furnaces, as well as the light refracting off of the crystals in the cavern, was honestly the source of a lot of my inspiration for a lot of my inventions, which I have since sold some of them to the NoTa company, of which I don't know if they're using them or not, but they pay well.
You will take a sip and ask, it's, you said that you perform better than most of your colleagues. Do you think that's why they chose you for the mission that we were all sent on?
Possibly, but honestly, if they had me build a lot of the devices first, we would have had a much harder time breaking into the vault.
Indeed, that was way too easy.
Yeah, well,
Especially.
that's poor craftsmanship for you.
Mm.
And Thaddeus will just sort of lean back and he'll just take another drink from his wine glass. And then he clears his throat a little bit. Elise, what's your deal here?
Well, it should be noted that all the work that I do is moderately legal. So
Moderately.
what I say here should stay here.
As long as it benefits us, I don't care.
My role for both the NoTa company and previously has always been ensuring money was spent, the golds, the coins, they were all spent properly and accounted for. I have a knack for finding things, for breaking things open, getting to the source of information, which is why, of course, I was chosen to break into a vault.
That is very useful for business. Those sorts of skills, having them on our side.
Well, I mean, if you're as good as you say you are, I'm not sure why they ended up asking me to go then.
It may have been to provide multiple avenues for protection.
Indeed, that would make sense. They would want to protect their assets both from an inventor and from someone who knows how to get things and break into things.
I'm sure you've noticed that I have a preternatural ability to reach from a distance, both physically and mentally.
Indeed, yes, that has come in handy quite a few times.
Interesting. Do you think you can reach over and get me a refill? And Thaddeus will put his tankard on the table.
Elise is going to look around to make sure nobody's watching too closely and then find a nearby tankard that somebody else would be drinking from, but they're not paying attention, and she'll mage hand it over and refill your drink, then return it.
I was expecting you to just swap the bugs.
Or pour it on Thaddeus.
Oh, that would get too much attention.
Yeah. I think, like, Elise would have considered pouring it on Thaddeus. Like, it's hovering over his head, and then instead of pouring it on him, moves it over to the mug, pours it out into his mug, and then slides it back to where it belongs.
Impressive.
Shimmer is not paying attention. She is, like, muttering to herself, where the fuck is our food? Looking around.
Yeah, where is our food?
See,
Thaddeus looks around too. Then he reaches into the fruit bowl and grabs another piece of fruit.
Shimmer will grab a piece of fruit after prestidigitationing the fruit bowl.
A goblin waiter walks over. Hey, what are you guys waiting on right now? We must have gotten our lines crossed. What's your order?
Shimmer is gonna sigh.
Make sure it's on the front of the stack, so you'll get your food first, okay?
I ordered some pancakes with some... Well, specifically, I ordered some blueberry pancakes with strawberries on top, with a dash of, like, a few leaves of mint, as well as some bacon and some eggs.
Okay, so we got some
They're
pancakes, some
over,
strawberries,
like,
some garnish, some eggs, some bacon.
indeed, over medium.
Over medium. Got it. Coming right up, coming right up. What about you there, guy?
Hey, buddy, I just ordered the cold cut sandwich.
One cold cut sandwich, you said? What's a sandwich?
Something I heard about. It's where you take 2 pieces of bread and you put meat in it. I know, it's a crazy idea. Never catch on.
That is a wild idea. But your customer's always right, so they say. And I would just like some eggs and bacon, same as our noble friend here. That would be good. All right, eggs and bacon, come right up. The goblin walks away.
Does he even work here?
I really don't think so.
You better. I want my food.
I swear, with this festival going on, all these people here rushing about, anything could go go wrong.
Well, hopefully not too wrong.
Yes, I've been waiting way too long for it. Ridiculous.
So, Shimmer, as Thaddeus kind of looks towards her and everything, she's like, I kind of get why Elise and we're on this chosen team and everything like that, and I understand why Sarah was there since she was my steel defender and everything. But how did you get on the team?
I wanted to ensure my money was safe, and with my unique abilities, I thought I could be helpful for that sort of mission.
Ah, rich people doing rich people stuff. Got it.
She is going to shift into Thaddeus and make a little mockery, muttering at, like, copying his voice badly. Specifically badly. Before turning back into herself.
Oh, look at me. I'm Thaddeus.
Yeah. She may be nobility, and she may be an adult noble, that doesn't stop her from being petty.
I have to wonder if we should be grateful that we were on this team and where we are now after the events have occurred. Should we be grateful that we were given this opportunity? Or should we be furious, quite frankly?
But the fact we went back in time about the whole thing that went wrong with the initial mission.
Yes, the time thing, milady. Elise is much more polite to Shimmer than she is to Thaddeus, but she's still concerned about mentioning time travel.
Well, I guess it depends on how much changes. And Shimmer glances around, kind of. Well, I feel like there could have been better people suited for this job. As you might have noticed, I am not as knowledgeable of the history of this place, though I do have my connections.
Well, I know from the original timeline that things are definitely changing. That much I do remember. So, like it or not, we're kind of here, so we might as well make the best of it.
Mm-hmm.
And relive the apocalypse, so to speak.
Oh, at least we got drinks. Thaddeus takes a drink of his tankard.
We get to see the sun one more time.
Oh yeah, that's been the best part.
I mean, we could leave the city, this time now.
I've considered this, but I worry of soul time and luminance.
I don't think we have many good options. Which brings us back to your initial question of whether or not we should be furious or happy about this. Like, we're sort of stuck. And no matter what we do, we can't leave. If we leave, we cause problems. If we stay, we cause problems.
Thaddeus will be very delicate not to mention, past events and everything like that. Again, he does not want to make rolls.
I don't think we have that. We don't have the PTSD table.
He doesn't know that.
He doesn't.
But he'll be very delicate, and he'll be like, well, given the events that have transpired over the past couple of days and everything like that, honestly, I really don't see any other way for us but to complete what we're here to do now.
Were we told to do this? To try and change things?
No, but at this point, I don't see any other way for us to not have horrible things happen to us at all. without at least trying to make sure events set in motion stay in motion as they have already been predestined.
Yes.
And on that note, Thaddeus will be taking a giant gulp from his tankard.
Shimmer will kind of just take a drink as well. Elise.
Elise will take a swig of her water because everyone else is drinking.
Elise, so I know Shimmer and I are relatively new to Wregate and everything like that, but you've been here, what, all your life?
That is correct. Yes.
So, what can you tell me about your experiences in Wregate?
It really depends on which part of my life you're talking about. When I was young, it's not great, I'll say. But as I got older, found my way, I got in the good graces of the right people.
That is always the best way for...
Well, if you want to elaborate, Elise, go on. I'm just trying to kill time before our food gets here.
What is up with that
Did you-
food taking so long?
Yeah, I don't know.
Do you have a family? I know Thaddeus mentioned he was raised by dwarves. Of course, I have mine.
I do not. At least, not for a long time I haven't.
Unfortunate.
Yes, I never knew my father, and my mother died at a very young age. But since then, I have learned that gold, a coin, is how we make the world work the way we want it to.
Indeed
I
it
beg
is.
to differ. Invention is how we make the world work the way we want it to.
Money, gold, it runs things. It runs inventions. It runs politics. It runs everything. I am in agreement with Elise. Money runs the world.
There were no inventions that could have taken me out of where I was when I was young. But no, gold could.
Thaddeus will kind of sit back in his chair after making that comment and kind of reflect on it, realizing that he might have been a little bit too gruff.
So as a changeling, do you believe it's your magic necklace, your patron, is the reason for your nobility? Or do you think your nobility as a changeling is why you have a genie patron?
Technically, neither. Being a changeling has nothing to do with my patron. Most of my family isn't a changeling, actually. I'm an oddball, but I am blood. It's the whole thing.
How does that work?
Yeah, I'm kind of curious myself.
My parents were, well, you can't tell anyone this. This does not. If this gets out to anyone, I'll know who it gets back to.
No, I'm not
That
even
is a
paying
threat.
attention. I'm just killing time.
My parents were struggling with fertility issues, and so they went to ask a deal with an archfey for a child in exchange for something. I wasn't really important to me growing up. Didn't affect, well, for the most part, the deal. It's what they gave in exchange didn't affect me. But they made a deal, and, well, it happened. Mother got pregnant with me, but part of the deal was that I would be born a changeling. I was raised in, she gestures to her form, which she makes sure is her human form. I was raised mostly looking like this, and to not change it very much around other people, but, it's kind of irritating to not be able to express yourself completely. So that's another reason I wanted to leave for a brief time, so I could get used to the changeling side of things, the changing.
I wouldn't blame you. Having to exist as someone else, someone that you're not, that can be difficult.
I wouldn't say it's someone I'm not, but it isn't completely who I am either. It's more so I exist as only a part of myself, but not able to completely express the rest of me. So for the most part, when I like to stay in basic changeling appearance, that is apparently the default form of my default form. Though it doesn't. I do view this as my default form, but I have been told by others that she'll shift into changeling form, that this is supposed to be the default. It's, I guess, different feeling, I suppose. I'm probably not going to hide as much once I'm older, but once I return, but we shall see. I do not want to, I don't want people to look down on my family. That would be very bad.
Thaddeus takes a drink. He's like, you know, I can technically relate being a human raised by dwarves.
I suppose
Well,
that is something of a parallel between you.
indeed, I see. I guess I can see it. By the way, speaking of you being raised by dwarves, how did you get raised by dwarves and never learn dwarvish?
I'll explain later.
Do you speak either of you speak any other languages other than common, since we're on the subject?
Well, my abyssal is a bit rusty, but I get by.
How did you learn abyssal but not dwarvish?
I'll explain later.
I speak undercommon and the language of thieves. Thieves can't.
That could be the second one could be very useful for us, especially if she glances around and lowers her voice, even though she wasn't really talking loud to begin with. The cultist, especially if the cultists might be speaking in that language. And I also speak and then she will say in undercommon, I also speak undercommon. It is, could be useful.
Elise will reply in undercommon. Yes, agreed.
Thaddeus will just look bewildered and take another drink.
And she will continue in common. I speak Celestial, Sylvan, and Undercommon. Of course, it is important to learn many languages as a nobility. And those were very oddly useful, strangely enough. You wouldn't think they would be, but they are.
Thaddeus starts getting a little bit impatient, and he's like, okay, you know what? I am done waiting. I will see you all later. And Thaddeus will get up from the table, and he's just gonna walk off.
This has taken way too long to get food. She's gonna finish. She's going to take another sip and basically finish off her drink. Take more fruit. Shimmer is annoyed at the lack of food.
Now we leave, my lady.
Yes, this place has not been useful. We are leaving with. Shimmer isn't going to be paying for their drinks or fruit as they leave. By the way,
Dine and dash.
Kind of dead.
they did not get the food to her. She is irritated. She is leaving.
Elise will mage hand away some pancakes from a nearby table as they're walking out the door, and she'll hand them to her.
Shimmer will nod, and that'll be very awkward trying to eat pancakes as they walk, but she will try. While also keeping her she will try to eat while also keeping her dignity. I don't know if you can do that.
If anyone could, it'd be Shimmer.
Mm-hmm. She creates spikes on her arms to give herself like a table. But like they are very subtle, so no one sees them unless you are looking directly under the plates.
So we, as the audience, we pull away from the scene. And another day of festivities, another day of fun, another day of dread and fear, quite frankly. What will the time breakers get into next time?
Time breakers, time breakers.
Find out next time on Whispers and Wregates.
You can come join the Discord. Link is in the description, and help build the city from the inside. You can leave a rating, leave a review, and let us know how you really feel. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.